Now, you can come back at me with short term. This is a perfect fit because Luck is more Peyton-like and he's more NFL ready. It's the better quick fix for the Indianapolis fans, blah, blah, blah. This kid, RG3, over time will prove to be the more dynamic quarterback and the more dynamic franchise leader. He clearly has the bigger arm of the two quarterbacks. I think he has a much better feel for throwing the deep ball. And he is still a pass-first pocket quarterback who, if dared, can beat you with world-class speed. I just have a feeling he has more of an it factor than Luck does. He has more star power. And I think, even though I have respect for Luck in the fourth quarter, this kid has the bigger clutch gene of the two. So long term, I like Luck and I love RG3. Mistake.
You made 2 accurate points.
Only 2.
2 accurate points.
Listen and learn.
He has a bigger arm and he's faster. That's it.
End of story.
Andrew Luck has played in a pro-style system for the last 3 years. And by the way, when he first came to Stanford, they went 7 years without a winning record. He went 31-7 as a starter there. So don't tell me that he's not a winner and he doesn't have the clutch gene and can't get it done, because he can. Even in the last game that they lost, he drove him down the field and put the field goal kicker in position against Oklahoma State. He has been playing at a 401 level in terms of pre-snap reads, understanding the game, the mental aspect of it, for longer than any other quarterback I've ever evaluated, and at a higher level. I mean, he really has. He's accurate. Yes, he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he still has above average arm strength. And I think arm strength is the most overrated part of the evaluation process with quarterbacks. In fact, it gets you into trouble when you get locked too much into the arm strength, because it's the first thing that jumps out on the tape, but we've had plenty of great quarterbacks in the NFL with average arms. Tom Brady coming out of school, average arm, but he's pretty good. What I'm buying is that I see what I see on tape, and it's very obvious in a pro-style system, and he's making the type of reads, and it's not coming from a spread offense and throwing into huge passing windows. Plus, you mentioned, feeling pressure and all of that. I did a breakdown of the top 7 quarterbacks in this class. I went through and watched every pressure drop. So anytime that they were hit, anytime that they were rushed, sacked, for anything that had to do with pressure on them. He graded out fine. Robert Griffin III graded out fine in terms of completion percentage. I think he was 3rd behind Andrew Luck. Touchdown interception ratio, he was 4th behind Andrew Luck. He was the worst of the 7 when it came to sack percentage. So he doesn't feel the pressure. And as great as he is as an athlete and the speed he has, he's taking a lot more hits, and ball security is a concern.
First of all, my apologies to you that you have to be subjected to.
Thank you.
It just doesn't make any sense. The fact that and that's the sad part, he really isn't finished.
And he believes it.
I defer to expertise, but here's the thing that I think that people have just thrown aside. You can't discount the fact that you are going to be the successor to Peyton Manning, whoever you are. Comfort has a lot to do with it. If you are an Andrew Luck, playing in the pro-style system, having the mechanics, the intangibles, all the things that both he and, of course, Mel Kiper Jr. have pointed out ad nauseum, you can't ignore those things. So what I'm saying to you is, when you're talking about RG3's upside, perhaps that may be the case. Perhaps there may be an upside. But we're talking about the #1 overall pick here. And if you're talking about the #1 overall pick, you need to be sure. And you need to go with the most sure thing. Can't be guessing. I mean, you can't look at it and go like this. Well, you know what? He's Michael Vick, but he can throw a little better, or he may throw worse, or whatever the case may be. Because I'm thinking Tom Brady, I'm thinking Peyton Manning. I look at Michael Vick on a different level. Athletically, he's on a superior level, but as a quarterback, no. I think about the days of Randall Cunningham when they were saying that about him. But I remember even back then, we were talking about Dan Marino, we were talking about Joe Montana, we were even talking about Dan Fouts. So what I'm saying to you is that when you can throw the football, when you have a pocket presence, when you have all of those intangibles and the mechanics and the things that experts like him allude to, and you're talking about the #1 overall pick, you got me sold. And then you take into account again, Peyton Manning is gone. And what you're bringing in is somebody that you consider to be, and experts basically in a consensus fashion believe is the closest thing to him. You go back again. #1, got to be a sure thing. I can't guess. And with RG3, in terms of the upside, I'm saying upside. I'm not questioning his skills now, but clearly upside. That's a projection. You don't know. They're talking about what we know about Andrew Luck.
And I hate the word safe when you talk about draft because it makes you feel like you're settling.
It is safe.
But there is something to the fact that you've been able to see it over a consistent period of time of 3 seasons with Andrew Luck versus Robert Griffin III. Now, I went back and watched tape at the beginning of the year, and Mel Kiper likes to needle me on this, and that's fine because it's a true statement. They asked me after that first TCU game, where do you project him? And I went back and I watched the coach's copy tape in 2010, 3 games. And I said, well, maybe 3rd round, has a lot of developing to do, but the good news is if it doesn't work out at quarterback, he could be a wide receiver. And the reason I said that was he wasn't accurate. He completed 20.6% of his throws. I found out statistically afterwards, 20.6% of his throws beyond 25 yards. This past season, over 50%. So he doubled that accuracy on throws beyond 25 yards. That's great. And that's why he's at number 2. And by the way, I love him. I think he's going to be a great player. I'm not knocking him here, but when comparing the two, I have a body of work of 3 years that's very consistent and consistently great versus RG3, who's gone from here and spiked and could be a phenomenal player. But even if he is, I still think he's going to be just at the level of Andrew Luck.
Okay, 2 nitpicks on Andrew Luck.
Yep.
The offensive line wasn't just good, it was sensational because there are going to be some high picks.
Oh, I completely disagree.
No,
there were two players.
two
the other
really
3
good
were new
players.
starters and didn't know what they were doing. It was a mess.
But
USC, Oregon.
Two of them are really high picks. They're
No,
really
that's
good
great.
players.
And that's good for 2
Okay.
individuals, but not for a unit.
Okay, and remember I said this. I think Andrew Luck throws from a little bit of a crouch. I was here about pure mechanics, but he's low slung in the pocket. I think he will get some balls batted at the next level.
He's 6'4".
Okay, but
With an over-the-top
okay,
delivery.
everybody thought Robert Griffin was a little undersized, and then he measured at 6'2" and what?
3/8.
3/8.
Yep.
Still ain't 6'4".
Okay. All right, but he throws from a lower point than RG3 does. It's just I'm just going by what I say. These are nitpicks, but this is why long term I'm going to stand by what I've seen. I haven't seen quite as much big time performance from Luck. I hear body of work. I hear safe. Although you want to see RG3 go to Washington to start with, so you're rooting for that.
I'm
right?
rooting for that, but I was also at Stanford's game against USC,
saw it?
and I saw him up in person. That was a big time performance. To me, he put up 56 points.
Okay,
That's
but
something
you came
to say
right
something.
back on this show the next week, and you said you had some doubts about it.
No.
He threw a big pick. in the fourth.
I didn't like the pick, and the Professor John Gruden got on him about that as well. The same play that was pointed out. He got greedy.
Yep. And he tried to make a big time play with a wide receiver core that had nobody. I mean,
Okay.
Chris Owusu is
They lost
number
Owusu.
1. Owusu
Now-
and the 2 starters from the year before.
Okay.
So he has 3
but
receivers,
but
and they're all
Kobe
tight
Fleener,
ends.
I want him on my team in pro football.
He's a
really good
he's a great
player.
tight end. He's probably going to late first, early second round. I get that, but he's a tight end. And now you can't let it loose. So everyone's saying he doesn't have this big-time arm. Well, I just went out to Stanford, Palo Alto, and sat there and watched him throw 70-something throws into the wind. No problem.
Okay.
And then he flipped around and said, here you go. Everyone who thinks I don't have an arm, 75 yards with a little bit of wind in the air.
And mind you, he pretty much didn't have to do that because RG3 refused to work out for Indianapolis. This is a guy that's going out there and just show. I'm just talking. I'm not saying
Whose side are you on? I thought you were on my side.
No, I'm not. I'm never on your side. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that Luck
Why do you
is a
think we're sitting
legitimate
like this?
number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Okay, you convinced me. I'm sticking with RG3.